Alright, hello guys, welcome back to another meter and design 3D tutorial. So today we're going to be modeling muffin, a big muffin. Now yeah, I was making banana muffin yesterday and I felt the urge to model it today, so that's what we're going to be doing. So just sit back, relax and watch me model this, and yeah, I think I should make a little bit of commentary so that we can have this as a tutorial. All right, so yes, let us go on, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create this muffin tin. It's actually a cake tin, but I wanted to make a huge muffin, so yes, I put that into the air fryer. So yeah, first thing I'm going to do is start with the basic shape, which is a circle. So we go with shift A. You know what, we could do a circle first, or we could do a cylinder. No, let's just start with the circle. Let's start from the base now. So we go with a circle. Now we're gonna go to the top view by clicking 7, and then we scroll in so that we can get a little bit closer here. So now that we're close, we need to go into edit mode by clicking tab on our keyboard. We're in vertex selection mode, and that's cool. And we select all the vertices. Now what I want to do is, because this pan it has a covering at the bottom, so we're gonna click F to fill it up. Okay, and then as you can see here, it branches inwards before it rises. So we're going to click I to insert, and then we just move it into our desired location, and this is where I want it to go. Now this is nice. Now we're going to go into the front view by clicking 1, and then we're going to extrude it. Before we extrude, I want to go increment it a bit. So we're going to click this and we'll increment it, or we should use, yeah, let's increment it. Let's see. So click E, then it increments upwards. Now you can make it as high as you want, but I'm gonna make mine to stop right here. So yeah, we are going to now have to make the cut the hole here. So we're gonna click X and faces because we don't want that. Now you see this was not supposed to be so. So we select all of this and we click F. But if we do that, there's gonna be some problem. So yeah, so it's best we do it this way. We select all this, then go to 1, and you know it's not going to be a flat surface. It's realistic. It's metal, so it's going to extrude a bit. Extrude. Oh, sorry, we don't need incrementation. Extrude downwards just a smidge. Great, 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 great. Now all we have to do is click F to fill in the face. Okay, that looks good. And if you think it's too high up, you can still always bring it back up a little bit by G, Z, and then just use your arrow keys to bring it up slightly. And that is good. Now the next part is, as you can see, it's like a curve here. Yeah, before I continue, I like to turn on my cavity. Oh my god, this is 4.5. Cavity right here, great. And set to put it on both. Sorry, I normally using 4.2, and this is my, I think, second or third time using 4.5. So yeah, yeah, let's move on. So now that we go back to edit mode, I'm gonna select this top side, and we are going to extrude it outward. So 7, okay. Then we extrude and right click, and then we click scale, and then we extrude it outward, not too much. All right, like that. Then 1. Now we're going to extrude it down as well, E to the Z, and then we just bring it down not too much around here. And that makes that part of the tin great, 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 great. We have the basic base model of the tin. Great. So yeah, we've done this part. Now we add the modifier to smooth it. Now we're going to have to add the bevel modifier first. Then we increment it by 3, 0.1. Control A first, or transform, then Control Shift 1. Great, and then we add ourselves the subdivision surface modifier. The subdivision surface modifier. Sorry, my system is whack. Great, just add that up again, and then we now shade auto smooth. Good. Now I feel like this needs to be like a, yeah, more rounded. We should use weight instead of, yeah, I feel we should use weight instead of angle. You'll see why very soon. Then come here and then we put this to 1. And then we do the same here. Put these to 1. Mm-hmm. 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 1 as well. Oh yeah, there's a reason most of this isn't working. Let's add the subdivide modifier as well. Yep, that's it. That's the thickness I was looking for. Great. Subdivision surface. Offset to 0. We don't want that. Yep, better. Now you're talking. Let's save the file first. I keep forgetting. So we're gonna call this a muffin. Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. Muffin. Alright guys, so yeah, I've been getting so many comments about my latest banana muffin 3D model, and people have been asking if I've got a YouTube workflow video. So I didn't record most of the work, so I'm just going to show you guys step by step on some things, not everything. I'm just going to show you how I modeled most of them, and then I'm going to show you the texturing part, and yeah, don't worry, let's just get to it. And yeah, for the muffin, I did start off using how did I do it, a circle, and then creating the the muffin, but then it didn't kind of work out the way I wanted to. Then I figured out using a different method. I imported the mesh as a UV sphere into the scene like so. Now I think I reduced it to 24. Did I? Let's see. Yes, I reduced it to 24. And then I went into edit mode and clicked one to go in front view, then clicked Alt Z, and then I selected yeah, I think from up here. No, from up here. And then I X'd and deleted these vertices. Then I selected these vertices and I extruded them on the Z axis to be able to create that muffin. And I clicked F to fill it up. And that's how I made this part. And then what I did was I went into the modifiers tab. I went to generate. I added a subdivision surface modifier. I added a subdivision surface modifier and increased it to about 5. Okay, and that made that. And then I went to edit mode. And then I inserted this once, twice. I just made about this. Sorry, I just made an error right there. I inserted it to about here, then inserted it again and again. Yeah, and that's how I made the base mesh for the muffin. As you can see, there you have these discrepancies here. It's something that you shouldn't really be worried about because it's not really going to be showing up in the model. Now, this is for the muffin base, right? So what we're going to do next here is we're going to model the sesame seeds. Now, the sesame seeds and the raisins, those are all modeled. You can't just up and place, I don't know, use geometry windows to make them. I don't know if you can. But what I did was I modeled it from scratch. So I'm going to import an image, reference image for the sesame seeds. Sorry, I'm going to import images for the sesame seeds. Okay, now I chose this one so that I can see them clearly. Now you can see how they're made. So what you're going to do here, let's go into top view by clicking 7. Then once we're in top view, we're going to click Shift A on our keyboard and bring in a plane. Okay, and let's scale that down a bit. We'll bring in a plane, and you can see that there are going to be just about one subdivision. Sorry, one loop cut around here. So what we're going to do is go into edit mode, or then we do Control R to bring in our, and then we'll just bring it up here. Great. And then we're gonna scale it on the x-axis to about here. And then we select this side and do the same, scale on the x-axis to about here. Then we select everything, all right, then we extrude onto the z-axis to about here as well. And then we go out of edit mode. Right now it looks rubbish, but we go into add a modifier called the subdivision surface modifier as well. We're going to top view, excuse me. Let's keep increasing that subdivision to at least 4. Now we're not done, so we go back into edit mode and we try to shape this into the sesame seed as much as we can, and then we scale this into the x as well. And then we add another loop cut right here. So right now we scale it on the x-axis outward, like so. Then we select this one, scale on the x inward, and G to the Y so that you can create that shape. Okay, G to Y. Alright, doesn't have to be exactly. Okay. Oops, I made a mistake. I forgot we had extruded. My bad, people. Alt Z first, then select those places X to scale on the X. Oop, do the same for here, scale on the X. Do the same for here, scale on the X. Then add a loop cut, scale on the X. Oops, this should not be scale on the X, scale on the X. GY, grab that, GY. And I think we can double G this so that we can move it forward. Great. And it kind of looks like a tick. Yeah. So yeah. Then what did I do here? I think let's try that one more time. Scale on the X a bit more. This side. Scale on X. Well, it's up to you to design it the way you want. Now, when you go to the side view, you can see how it looks here, and we want to flatten this part a bit. Okay, so Alt Z, and then we select it and scale on the Z axis to about this much. Okay, that's looking good to me. That is our sesame seed, but let's see, could we? Yeah, no, Ctrl Z. I don't remember doing this, but let's see. Hold on, I'm just experimenting here. And GY to make it a little bit more pointy. GY. Okay, this is our sesame seed. You don't exactly need to add this one. I just wanted to test something out. So yeah, I made the sesame seeds like this, and that is simple. You can make very different variations of the sesame seeds if you want. You could like how it's looking weird. So let's use this as reference. If you don't want it to be as pointy as this, you go there, select all this, and GY, bring it in a little bit closer. Okay, and then you now go back into edit mode, select only these ones, and GY, bring it a little bit closer as well, and then you have a different variation of the sesame seeds that you want. Now, as for the raisins, that was something else. What I did was I brought in a plane. Was it a plane? I believe it was a plane. Yeah, let's see. I brought in a plane. But first, I brought in a reference image. Yeah, always bring a reference image so that you wouldn't make any mistakes. So I brought in the Raisin reference image, which was this. I placed it right there. Then I click Shift A. Yeah, I brought in a plane. Sorry, a plane. Then I scaled it up to about here. Scaled it on the yellow y-axis. Sorry, like so. Let's see to see what I'm doing. Then yeah, always apply scale so that it won't stretch in some places. So now that I have that, I went into edit mode and I extruded it on the Z axis to about here. Then I added the subdivision surface modifier, okay, to be able to shape it. Go back into top view by clicking the 7, increase that to about here. Okay, it's not looking thick enough, so I go into edit mode, I grab it to the Z to about here as well. Okay, so now we have that oval shape. So now what I did next was I okay, let's scale this up again. Scale it a bit. I went in, so Control A, all transform, Control Shift 1, which is my shortcut key to set origin to geometry, but you could just right click and go to set origin to geometry, and right here, set origin, yeah, whatever. Then I add another modifier, okay, And then I added sorry, not this not generate deform. I added a displace modifier. Okay, then I click new to add the new texture. So then I click texture right here, and I want to use an image texture. Why? Because I want to use the exact prompt of this raisin. All right, so I went to open. I went to where I saved that image and I selected this image of the raisin. Now right now it looks trash, right? Now before I go back into this, let's add a subdivision surface modifier again. So we're going to generate and we add the subdivision surface modifier to smoothing it out. Let's do that. Great. I'm going to go back here. Sorry. I feel like we should increase this subdivision so we can get a lot more. Oopsie. Ah, I see. Oh, we don't need repeats. We just need clip. Extend. No, clip. We don't need more. Okay. So now this is very interesting. For some reason, the sample image is smaller than the raisin. Okay. So let me figure out how we can reduce the size of the raisin. Let's let's see what we can do. All right, so I think what I can do is just scale it down so I can get that size. Okay, and then because of that, we can now fix mid-level, reduce the strength if we can. Okay, that's not looking good to me. Is it because I added too much subdivision? Yeah, that was way too much subdivision. So yeah, you just play around with the settings till you get the you can go inwards if you want, you go outwards, and I'm holding shift and I'm dragging to be able to what's the word, to move it incrementally. All right, so there we have our raisin, which is great. Let me now shade auto smooth. Okay, so you could always reduce this if you want more detail to the raisin. You could apply the subdivision if you like, because you might be wanting to use it and you really don't want to mess up the geometry. But we're not going to apply that now. So now now that we've modeled the sesame seed, the muffin, and the raisin as well. We also modeled the tin in the beginning of the video. So we are now going to go into texturing. Now, I'm not exactly going to show you everything for texturing because it's faster if I just show you the image on its own. So yeah, go into shader editor. Now I have the materials already. This one is going to be for the raisin. Okay, so yeah, we have this image. Now we could always turn this on so that we can be seeing the texture. Yeah, so now we can get rid of this empty. Okay, we don't need that. It's now creating it's now choosing this. Now the reason why this is looking weird, okay, is because we haven't unwrapped this. So we're gonna now go into UV editor. Okay, and then we're going to edit mode by clicking tab. Okay, now we are going to have to apply this. All right, let's apply this modifier so we can have this. Great. A by selecting everything. Okay, go into top view by clicking 7, then click U. And what I did, I used Q projection. Okay, but you could also just use face project from view, which still works. So let's just use project from view. Select that, and then we just scale this and place this as close as we can to that, and then tab, and then we have ourselves the raisin texture. Now, and if you wanted it to be exactly the same shape as um, the image, you can do whatever you want. You can apply the displacement and have the shape if you like, but it wouldn't be the exact shape of, you know, the raisin, but close enough. But this is good enough for me. Now you could always go into the render view. Right now you can't see nothing because we haven't added our HDRI, and I use easy HDRI. Sorry, switching this to cycles. I rendered everything in cycles, so I use easy HDRI for my HDRIs. So you just, I don't know, you can use that if you like, or you could do it the old-fashioned way. And then I chose this one because it's pretty bright. And then now that it is applied, it shows up. But what did I do? Yeah, go into render settings, go into film, and check transparent because we do not want to see the background. Great, just great. Let's increase that sky strength by 2. I want it to be bright so that I can see it. Okay, and yeah, color management. We use Filmic. We don't use AGX any other thing, and then we change it to very, very high contrast. Look at that. Great. So now this isn't just about placing the image on the raisin. All right. Let me show you the texture. Hold on. Let me show you the texture. So this is the whole raisin texture. We had the image texture, the bump, and the normal map, which I created, and I all joined it to this mapping node, UV texture coordinate. And for the roughness, I added a color ramp, which is, where it's black, it's going to be more glossy, where it's white, it's not. So I made more parts of it glossy and all that, connecting the raisin's image texture to the factor so that it can be a lot better in its placement. You could completely make it glossy all around if you like, but I didn't do that. Now I'm using Blender 4.5, and on older versions of Blender Subsurface, you were able to add colors, all right? And I couldn't do that. We can't do that in 4.5. But the workaround was we can use a mix node and set it to screen, and we can now add the red color to the second color so that we can add those warm colors to the raisin, like how light is passing through it, and then I set the factor towards more of the image than the red. Okay, but you can do whatever you want. And I also increased the weight of the subsurface to 0.2, which is still going to make it a little bit more transparent, when sun goes through it. And 5 right here, this I increased the red again. Also here, this here is red, I think this is blue, and this is green. So the more of increasing this is going to increase the red. Okay, yeah. And no metallic, IRR still the same, every other setting is still the same, and that is for the raisin texture. Great. Now we are done with that. Let's hide that, and this fair is, oh sorry, no, the plane. Let's go with the sesame seed. Now the sesame seed, I'm going to show you the texture real quick. For the sesame seed, this is the texture that I made. Okay. Ooh. I made 2 textures. The first one and the second one. The second one is okay now. I think I had forgotten to delete that. Okay, yeah, this is the first one. As you can see, there's a gradient. All right. It's not that this part is dark because of the shadows. It's because I added that gradient, 2 different colors, the light one and the dark one, so that I can make that realistic, depth of field. And this is how I did it. All right. So for the, yeah, this is what I did. First of all, I added a metallic texture, as you can see. Okay, first let's shade auto smooth. I don't like seeing those artifacts. So I made it a little bit metallic 0.1 so that it will look a bit shiny. As well, I also reduced the roughness down. Okay, so that it could also be shiny because I want my sesame seeds to be shiny, glossy. And nothing else is, I think, okay, I did a little bit of subsurface, like 0.02. That was as much as I did, nothing serious. Then I also and did mapping node, set it to generated, and then I added a gradient texture. Okay, I set it to linear, and then I connected that gradient texture into a color ramp and used these 2 different colors. Now if you want to use the same colors I use, this is the hexagon Sorry. That was an accident. Okay, so let me scroll in first before I do that. Right click, and the hex factor is right here. Just use this, all right, for the darker color of the sesame seed, and for the lighter one, this is the one I used. Great, are we good? We're good. Then I set this to ease, blend mode to interpolation to ease, and then I move the darker one a little bit closer so that it will create this part, I believe, yeah. And this as well, I mixed it up with another darkening color to, give it that je ne sais quoi around here. And what this part is working on because of this factor is this noise texture. If you look closely, it's not just one smooth color. It's the mixture of this color and this color that is now on top of these through the noise texture, which I gave it its own mapping node. I don't know why. I could have just used the same mapping node. Yeah, that was an accident. And I connected the noise texture to the factor. And these are the settings for the noise texture. The scale is 2, 5. I didn't really change anything, honestly. It's just the exact noise texture. It's very subtle. Then I added a little bit of bump 0.2, which you probably can't even see because it's not really existing like that. And then I connected it to the normal. And yeah, that is the texture for the um sesame seed. Great. Now let's move on to the muffin. What is going on? Okay, yeah, we're inside the muffin. Now for the muffin texture, what I did was muffin. Ooh, that's my muffin. I feel like I need to Control A, all transforms, Control Shift 1. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Yep, that's good. It did that for me. But let me go out of this mode first. What I did, right, was bring the origin point down to the bottom. And the way to do that is clicking origin so that we can only we'll click options, go to origins to affect only the origin. Then GZ, bring that origin down. Okay, that way you only move the origin to about there or wherever. And then we take that off. Now, if we go back into the texture mode, we can see that. Great. Now, it's looking weird on this model because it's not to scale. All right. Right now I made it so huge. If it was to scale, it would be perfectly well because I made these settings for us to scale, and I didn't make everything to scale, which is a problem. So what we're gonna do is just leave the origin back in the center for now. But when you're making yours, bring it down, change the settings to use to be exactly like this. 0.1. Why were you always rotating? Jesus. So Control A, all transforms. Okay, Control Shift 1 to put in the center, but let also bring it down, bring the origin down as well. GZ to about there. And then we now go into this so that we can see clearly. Was it 0.1? Oof, I applied scale that one. Let's just increase it again. And then we apply the scale. Okay, yeah, great. I think it wasn't 0.1. Oh well. Yeah, so this is the exact size. So pertaining to the size of the muffin, you're gonna have to change some of these values. But for this value, this is what I did. That way, it's going to have from the bottom to about this level, it's going to have that darkness. Now, I'm this texture, I can't take credit for making it. I watched the video from Ryan King Arts, and he explained fully how to make this texture. But what I did is, in his texture, it was his cookie video, how to make a chocolate chip cookie. But in his video, there were some other nodes that were added, which was to add the raisins. And I didn't like the fake version of it, so I had to now manually make my own. So in his own, he added that, but I did not. So Yeah, mine is like that. Now this side, which is the gradient, okay, this gradient is what affects this, moving from this color to, sorry, this color to this color. So what we did was create a gradient texture, set it to linear, and create the mapping node, all right? But not this mapping node first. There was our original mapping node, which was set to object, which we now created another mapping node, and we connected it to the gradient section. Now we set this mapping node so that we can only control the rotation on the y-axis, all right? So that it wouldn't affect everything, because we're still going to use this mapping node for other things. But that light texture, like you see on clothes, I don't know, I just felt like it needed to be there. It just came out right. And I also added a little bit of coating as well, just 0.05. You can use these settings. And that's how we're able to create this. Now, you're wondering, yo, how did you put the sesame seeds on the muffin? Well, I used the geometry node, of course. Now, let's change this to the geometry node editor. Now, while selecting this, all right, we can, okay, go back. All right, so we're just going to go and add the geometry node right here, which I made in the previous video when I started making, and I called it add raisins. All right, let's add geometry node. It's still the same thing. Okay, so then we now select add raisins. And voila, we have our raisins. Now, it's using the raisins from the sesame seeds. It's using the sesame seeds from the other video I made. Now you could always just click this and choose which thing you want to place here. Okay, I made a collection, all right, collection full of raisins, but then I later on just wanted one, so I deleted the other variations of raisins and just used one. But if you want to change that, you just click this, select the sesame seed we made. Okay, this one. You can now reduce, scale it down. All right, you have to scale. Let me show you how we do it. All right, let me scale that down. First, let me name it as ses. Okay, now we're gonna have to scale this sesame seed way down. It has to be very tiny. Sorry, I messed up. Scale it down to minus 0.1, and it keeps rotating when I scale that. I need to understand what I need to fix that. Yeah, just keep scaling it down. Let it be very tiny, and Control A, apply the scale, Control Shift 1. All right, it's where it's there. Great. Now let me show you what happens. If I select this, okay, and I click this, it's not okay. This is for a collection node. All right, you could instead of doing that, you could always just bring this, drag this in, all right, for just a singular whatever geometry, and then you can click and drag it into that instance. Okay, and let's do that. Click and drag and put it into that instance. Now you're not seeing it because it is, you need to click as instance. Great. Now, yeah, the sesame seed is huge, so what you're gonna have to do is select the sesame seed, scale it down some more, then Control A, that scale, and then it's been added. You can keep on scaling it down as much as you want, but yeah, I'm gonna have to Control Z because I don't want to mess up my texture. Now, I also, you can see right now the sesame seeds are all over this, all right. Now what I did was I used weight paint. Okay, now it was in Poisson disc, I believe. Yeah, in the density factor right here. Right now it's at 1. We don't want that, so we click this right here. Okay, before we are able to change the density factor, what we need to do is go into edit mode. All right, now I'm going to select this first vertex and click Control plus to increase and select all these sections right here. Then we are going to go into this vertex side and we're going to create a vertex group, and then we're going to call it place sesame seeds. Okay, and then we assign, and then go back into object mode. And then when we are done, we go back into the modifiers tab, and then we select that place sesame seeds, and that's where it's going to be. Now, right now, nothing has happened, and the way we're going to fix that is we're going to go into, yes, you guessed it, weight paint mode. Okay, so now wherever is red, the higher the number of sesame seeds is going to be there. Wherever is blue, 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint over this to remove that, okay? Now you can do this at your own time. I'm just showing you what I did. So as you can see, there's less here and there is more here, okay? So no need for that, sorry. Let's go back into object mode. So when you turn on you go back into render view, you can see your sesame seeds. Now, because of the texture of the muffin having these displacement bumps, right? Originally, you won't be able to place the raisins the way you see them. And the way I did that, I was able to fix that by what's going on? Take me to geometry nodes real quick. All right, was by and the way I did that, yeah, was I went to this. I added a set position node after everything has been done, okay, and then I increased it just by a little bit. You can increase it as much as you want, but this was the sweet spot for me. Okay, I don't know if I've shown you the whole node. All right, let me show you the whole node for this so that you can just copy and paste. This right here is the whole node for the adding the sesame seeds or the raisins. And I see that as add raisins. I meant add sesame. Let's turn that to sesame seeds. Great. So yeah, this is the entire node, collection info or the object info. How that is multiplied to the density mask. And this is the number of sesame seeds, and we multiply it by this, multiply it by 15. You can increase it as much as you want, but this was okay for me. The random value combined connected to the combined XYZ, which was also connected to the rotation, which is in the rotation node, which was now connected to the rotation, which helps us to allow the sesame seeds to rotate on the axis or on the muffin itself, because if we didn't use this rotation node, the rotation is going to be like so, like this, which we do not want. All right, we want it to be placed like stuck on the muffin. So yeah, this is the entirety of the project. And yeah, the way I had added the raisins wasn't anything special. I just brought out the raisin. Sorry, yep, the raisin, yeah, and then I scaled it down. Don't apply the scale to mess up the displacement modifier. Scale it down again. I tried different methods for using the raisins. I used the lattice. I used lattice modifier. It didn't work as much as I wanted it to. I tried using some geometry nodes, but my system just couldn't handle that kind of power. So what I did was, once I made the raisins and I placed them around the muffin, I did it in post processing. I took it into Photoshop and then I painted the edges to make it look like it had some depth. It was blending perfectly well. So yeah, you don't always have to do everything inside Blender. Now you can see the way my muffin, the whole render looked so amazing, so glossy, so beautiful. Was in compositing, I clicked use nodes. All right, now I may not use it in this particular one. Let me go back to the scene where I actually, sorry, not this scene right here. Okay, I went into the compositing, and this is the settings I used. Okay, I added color balance and I played with the settings to give off that je ne sais quoi, that dark contrasty feeling. Then I added the glare, the fog glow, and set it to medium and used these settings. Just left the settings the way it was to give it that glow, that surreal feeling. Then I added some lens distortion. I checked jitter and fit to give off that camera distortion feeling, not the scale feeling a lot. And then I chose these two settings, 0.02 in distortion, and in the dispersion I use 0.005. Then I added a multiply. It's a color mix node. I set it to multiply, and I used a warm color. I used a pink one. You could use whatever color you want, but that makes the overall color the way, in that pinkish warmish feel. And yeah, I remember now there was one more thing I hadn't shown you guys, which was this, which was to show the raisins flying around. Okay, so what I did is very easy, honestly. You're going to import yourself a curve. Okay, I used this spiral curve. Okay, and then I adjusted it to the way that I wanted. Then I imported a sphere. All right, and I just left it at the very point of where uh the curve, sorry, the curve, where the curve started. And then I named this as the emitter. Okay, and then I added the particle system. Okay, this was my settings: 200 velocity here, randomize. I increased the scale a bit. You could leave it at 1, okay, if you wanted to. I unchecked show emitter so that this on render you won't see this ball. And then for the instances, I selected the raisins. Okay, you can select the sesame seeds if you want. You can select whatever you want, and then it will bring them out. Now in the curve, I selected that curve, and then I what did I do? I added the physics particle and change the type, because originally the type would be add force. If you're adding, you select force field, and originally it will give you force field, but I set it to curve guide because that's what you want. Then this is the setting I use. I changed this type from none to braid on the x-axis, then the frequency to 5, and the amplitude to 0.5. Now, according to you, it could be any setting that you want. If you wanted it to follow the path completely, then you just change the amplitude to 0, and it will follow the path indiscriminately. And the good thing about this is it's not creating more geometry. It's just like a fake raisin. So if your system is as bad as mine, as slow as mine, sorry, you can be okay. You won't be too worried about geometry. Okay, so yeah, that is everything. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, I did a camera setting. In my camera settings, yeah, let's do that camera as well. For the camera settings, I use this. I use the focal length of 85 millimeters. All right, I made the positions wherever I want to position it, and I also added the depth of field. Yeah, so that there can be some blurry. The background could be a bit blurry. All right, while the focus is just on the muffin. And I added an empty. All right, placed it where I want it to be, and before going to the camera and selecting that focus on, and it focused on the empty. And I used a focal stop of 5.6. Okay, you could use any settings you want, but that's the setting I used. Now in my render, because I used this HDRI image, all right, I added another light source from here to give it two-way, because the sun lighting was only coming from the left, so I added another one to also give that kind of glossy brightness coming from the right side. And yeah, for the plane I added this material. It's just a plain white background, honestly, nothing fancy. So yeah, that is everything. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see more breakdown videos like this, please leave the like and also comment on this video. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye bye.